getting back to the topic of Street Fighter 6, if from the get-go, when the game says fight and the two players can be controlled, if you're telling me that you have the ability to do a parry, a counter, or reversal, a cancel, amongst other moves, because I think there's 5 or 6 abilities you have now with this new drive system, and you have a meter, and that meter can be used, but then you have to build a meter back, all right, during the course of the fight. What you're telling me is that there is going to be an unprecedented, okay, an unprecedented amount of variety in the gameplay. Some people will prefer to do parries. Some people will do reversals. Some people will do just offensive cancels. Some people will do a hybrid, right? Some people will save their meter for a critical moment, while others will right off the bat start using the meter. You see? That's good. That's variety. That will essentially make it that you can play the game in different ways and try to find out, maybe for certain characters, you know, using it offensively will make a lot more sense, while other characters using it defensively will make more sense, right? If the parry system is anything like Street Fighter 3, this game will play nothing like Street Fighter 5. Because Street Fighter 3's parry system is highly reliant on reactions. Oh, I see you're doing something, and now I'm going to time my reaction to stop it and counter hit it. I'm parrying your broadcasted move, and now I can, you know, react to that and do a giant punishing combo or whatever. You see? So, if that's the case, and that's how it works, again, we don't know. We haven't played it. This is all guesswork, right? Excuse me. This game, right out of the gates, is going to be better than Street Fighter 5. Now, there's a million factors that have to be involved here, including how good is the online play, and, you know, will there be characters that the parry's completely worthless and what you just want to be offensive constantly using cancels and things? I don't know. We'll see. The game's not out yet. But just the base knowledge of understanding how fighting games work at any kind of a competitive level, having a meter that can be used in different ways, as opposed to, oh, before I started the fight, I selected a skill that I'm stuck with, and this is my build for the entire thing. I have no choice in anything of variation here, right? Just the design of the game is better from the ground up, okay? So I'm liking that about it, for sure. Now, apparently the cast has been leaked. I have not seen the full cast yet, but I think there's some returning characters. Like, I think I saw Blanca, and I think Honda have returned, but there seemed to be a significant amount of new characters as well, which is funny, because that's kind of what happened with Street Fighter 3. You had a couple returning characters, Ryu, Ken, eventually Chun-Li, but most of the cast was new, right? Most of the cast was brand new. A lot of people liked that, but quite a lot of people didn't. A lot of people wanted to see their favorite characters returning. They were upset when most of the characters from Street Fighter had not been present in Street Fighter 3. So I guess we'll see if this cast leak is true or not. It's kind of hard to believe because it's not official yet. But if there is a full cast leak, it looks like a mix, right? Isn't DJ back? Or a character that looks like DJ? I was looking at it online, and I was like, who's this? Who's this? And I think DJ's in there, which is interesting to me. You guys know, DJ's one of my favorite characters in Super Turbo. And if he's in there, that'd be really sweet. But like I said, obviously I want classic characters to return, but I also do want new characters, right? I guess we'll see. The animations, like just analyzing what was shown in the state of play, they're showing Ryu and his normals and the animations, and I guess what they're saying is that it's the animations of Third Strike. It's Ryu's normal animations from Street Fighter 3. So just right off the bat, it seems like they are going for Street Fighter 3. They're saying, listen, Street Fighter 4, 5, toss them aside. This is something new. We're going back to the Street Fighter 3 style with animations and everything. Okay? However, there is one huge controversial point that needs to be addressed. The elephant in the room. I said it again. The elephant in the room. You guys ready about this? Get ready for this. Prepare your butts. They have announced easy mode controls for people who aren't good at fighting games to play the game. What does that mean? It means you don't need to do any button input motions. So for example, here's my controller. I have selected Ryu as my character. Traditionally, if you want to throw a fireball with Ryu, you would have to go from down to forward, rolling your thumb, down, down, forward, forward, and press a button, and he would throw a fireball. In this game, you just press triangle. You get a fireball. Oh, okay. Shoryuken, one of the harder moves to execute in Street Fighter, purposefully, because it has high invincibility frames. What that means is when you do the Shoryuken move, you're invincible for a short period of time. This is the way for Ryu to escape getting constantly being pounded by offense. You get him off you with a Shoryuken. It's a harder move to execute. It's supposed to be forward, down, down, forward, rolled with your thumb plus punch. Up plus triangle now. Okay? So, essentially what's happening, they're turning Street Fighter into Smash Brothers. That's what it is. They're turning Street Fighter into Super Smash Brothers. Now, the thing is, this was just an announcement yesterday. Okay? This was not, here is the end-all be-all of our game. Okay? They were just announcing this feature will be in the game. Okay? Now, by the way, this is not new. If you guys are not aware, this was present back in the day in certain Street Fighter games. Notably, the Versus series would have what's called easy mode. Okay? How did it work? What would happen is if you weren't good at fighting games, you could select easy mode when you picked your character on the select screen. And if you just mashed a button like this, the game would give you an auto combo. All right? And yes, it simplified certain special move inputs to make it easier for people who did not know how to play the game. So you might say, well, wait a minute, that was on an arcade cabinet. That's kind of messed up. Both sides are putting in the same money. Both sides are playing. One person picks normal controls and has to do all those complicated inputs. The other person just mashes buttons and gets combos and moves. How is that fair? Because it was balanced. You want to know how it was balanced? Guess what? If you picked easy mode, you did dramatically reduced damage. So, you don't have to do any button inputs, but you have to hit me 3 times to do the same damage as I'm doing to you once because I did the full input. No one used easy mode. It was a waste of time. You couldn't win. You would have to hit the enemy so many times, right? Also, they had auto block as well. There were certain auto blocking situations where the game would block for you so that you wouldn't get hit. So it really was interesting that they implemented this, relatively early on in the 1990s in arcades. But it never caught on. No one liked it. And it was never used for tournament play or anything like that. It was just a feature that was in the game that was essentially ignored because people wanted to play these games competitively. I'm sure there were children who didn't know how to play the games and they messed around. And, it was a way for them to play. And also accessibility-wise. Maybe someone can't do those complex special moves. They still want to enjoy the game. Pick easy mode. You can still enjoy the game. But it wasn't for competitive purposes. Okay? It just wasn't. Now, you guys may not realize this, all right? But I've talked about this over 10 years ago. Actually, I talked about this like 13 years ago in my content. Back when Street Fighter 4 was new, all right? And it came out, and it was discovered within a couple weeks of the game being out that the game had input shortcuts. What does that mean? It means, again, going back to explaining how to do a special move, Ryu's Shoryuken is supposed to be forward, down, down, forward, and punch, so you have to roll your thumb and press punch. It was discovered that in Street Fighter 4, you didn't have to do that. In Street Fighter 4, you could literally just mash like this down forward without ever specifically pressing the input, press punch, and you will get a Shoryuken. And what happened was people started abusing this both online and in tournaments. They didn't have to time anything. Instead, I want a reversal. Just mash, and it would come out. And it would get out of stuff. Like, it was crazy. And I was a huge critic of this at the time. I said, this is ridiculous. You're going to have people who have no skill, people who didn't practice, people who are just mashers. And they can online blow out of anything. Like, infamously, one of the videos was against me against, was it Wonder Waffle? That Ken player. Okay, there was a Ken player who had insanely bad internet. He changed the round time to 30 seconds. And literally the round was mashing diagonal with punch. So he would just do ridiculous invincible Shoryuken after invincible Shoryuken, and because of the lag in the game, you couldn't stop him. He wasn't doing those inputs. He was mashing like an asshole, and he was getting the moves every time. Okay, now how can you say that that's viable in tournament play? In reality, it's not. It dilutes the game. But Capcom's justification was, oh, this is how we can make the game more accessible to the masses. Now people who don't have the expertise or the skill or even the time to practice can pull off these complex fighting moves and combos. I hated this about Street Fighter 4. I was very vocal at the time. I said this should not be in the game. Here's what they should do. Just like in the 90s, okay? It should be, you have the option to do the eased controls if you want. And if you're playing the game at a casual level or a player match online, fine, you can use those shortcut to use the inputs, right? It's easy to do the moves. But if you're playing in a competitive setting, a tournament, or if you're online playing ranked matches, these are supposed to be matches that count for something. You're ranked worldwide on your performance on how you played online in this match. You shouldn't be allowed to use input shortcuts. That's essentially, you're cheating the game. You're not doing the motion as it was intended. You're mashing like an asshole in lag, and you're getting away with it. In fact, you're being rewarded for it, right? So I always felt that this was not acceptable, fair, and shouldn't have been in the game. What I argued for back then, 13 plus years ago, when Street Fighter 4 was new, was that there should be different game modes. There should be an easy mode or accessibility mode where if you want the input shortcuts, they should be in there. And then there should be a mode separate from that for competitive players where that's not allowed. Okay? So to fast forward now to the present day in Street Fighter 6, I'm not opposed to having up and triangle be Shoryuken. I'm not opposed to just pressing triangle and getting a Hadouken. That's fine with me, as long as that's not tournament level gameplay. Because essentially what you've now done, you've diluted Street Fighter to be like Super Smash Brothers. And by the way, I'm not trying to hate on Super Smash Brothers in any way, shape, or form. I feel that that game is incredibly competitive when certain set criteria and rule sets are enforced. Smash Brothers can be as competitive as any other fighting game, okay? But Street Fighter, at its core, has always been a game that requires muscle memory, practice. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to have a level of challenge to it. If you take the challenge out, then you're changing the game. It's not Street Fighter anymore. You can call it whatever you want, Street Fighter Easy Mode, but it ain't Street Fighter. It's not. It's not at its core. It's not the competitive nature of what the game's supposed to be at a tournament level. I'm all for accessibility in video games, right? But not at a competitive level where you're supposed to be comparing your level of skill and execution against others, okay? Or how about this? There's a tournament scene just for non-easy mode, and then there's a tournament seed, easy mode allowed. It would be completely different if you really think about it. Because you'd have some people who have to focus on the execution and everything, and they have other people who are just like, nope, just press the button, just press the button. It would actually be an interesting difference in maybe the outcomes. Would you see players winning over here who can't win over here? Players who win here and can't win over here. You know what I'm saying?